everyone, welcome to Unit 2. I want to talk a little bit about expectations for Unit 2, but I wanted to just start off by letting you know that Unit 1 was a great start to the course, really excellent engagement. I loved the conversation happening in the discussion board, the creative short stories that I had the pleasure of reading. So really off to a great start. Keep up the good work. And I hope that you all had a restful weekend. And let's talk a little bit about Unit 2. So in Unit 2, we will examine the literary device of setting. And we know that setting means the time and place in which the story occurs. But as we begin to develop a little bit more sophisticated understanding, we also know that it includes things like the mood, the atmosphere. So when you are thinking about setting, consider the impact that your own setting has on you as a person. So for example, how are you different at home versus at work? How are you impacted by the weather or the time of day, or the different circumstances in your life? How are you impacted by events taking place around you, current events, things that you see in the news, things that are going on in the context of history in your particular moment? All of those things can help you to understand a character. So when you think about a character, you always want to be thinking about what is the setting in which they're moving. So when we examine setting in literature, we really want to be considering all those different circumstances and how they're impacting the characters in the story. So this week for readings, we have some great ones. So All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, which is a very famous short story. Two poems, I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman and I Too by Langston Hughes. And then a great short story that you may not be familiar with called Money, the Least of His Worries. So as you read all of those, you'll be thinking about how the setting impacts the story, impacts the characters. And your setting literary response for this week will ask you to take one of the stories from either week 1 or week 2 and answer that question and examine that question in more detail. So you can take one of the stories from week 1, you can take one of the stories from week 2, whichever one you prefer. For the discussion board this week, we will be examining the idea of self-plagiarism. This is a very important concept. This is something that a lot of students struggle with. Many people are aware of the idea of plagiarizing other people's work, but the concept of the fact that you could be plagiarizing something that you have written in the past, and that is in fact a serious academic infraction, that idea is unfamiliar to some students. So it's very important that you have a strong grasp on the idea of self-plagiarism and that you're very clear on what it is. So that is the topic for the discussion board. And then you have your setting literary response. As I said, last week's work was excellent. If you have any questions, if you don't know where to find anything, if you're stuck, please reach out. And I hope you have a great week.